Buongiorno, vi invitiamo a prendere posto. Tra qualche minuto avrà inizio l'evento. Vi invitiamo anche a ritirare le cuffie per l'interpretariato. L'ultima sessione sarà.
Please take your seats so that we can start with the first session of today's meeting. I invite all the participants and guests to take the headphones to listen to the interpretation.
Vamos a empezar en algunos minutos. Los invitamos a recoger los audífonos por la interpretación. Están previstas intervenciones en italiano y en español hoy en día. Bom dia com todos e todas. Vamos começar em alguns minutos. Estão convidados a recuperar os fones para a interpretação. Muito obrigada.
No. Perdonate il ritardo con il quale cominciamo.
Good morning. We apologize for the delay. But the delay was due to the commemoration of the police agents killed on the 19th of July 1992, together with Paolo Borsellino. This is an important occasion for Palermo, for the entire city, the community. So we apologize for the delay. There's a small change in the agenda for today's meeting because we decided to anticipate the commemoration of the judge Carlos Maíquez. Carlos, where are you? Here, perfect. I think that in a few words, Carlos Maíquez could share with us a testimony of its commitment for justice in his country, in Argentina. He took part in very important judicial experiences. He is the judge of the ruling, acknowledging the and convicting the responsible for the attack at the synagogue in Buenos Aires in 1994. We will give an award to Carlos Maíquez, and the award will be given by the Undersecretary of State at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Maria Tripodi. And then we will continue with the last session. Then there will be another award ceremony, a symbolic ceremony, as a sign of friendship, admiration, gratitude for Giuseppe Di Lello, one of the judges of the pool of Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. During the Maxi trial in Palermo. Good morning. I would like to thank the National Anti-Mafia Public Prosecutor, Mr. Melillo, President Frasca, all the speakers, the magistrates from Italy and from Latin America who are here today during this important day. As today we commemorate and celebrate Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino, as well as their bodyguards, on the occasion of the 33rd anniversary of the bombing of Via D'Amelio. It is important to remember how these two heroes, these two magistrates, have left behind a method, a vision, which are still pivotal today. And today we have to acknowledge that mafias have changed over time. Their strategies have changed. And also the reference markets have changed. This is why we support your work, your actions in the fight against this threat. represented by transnational crime. We need new tools today. We support the vision of the National Anti-Mafia Prosecutors, who was able to interpret today's sign to anticipate the challenges of tomorrow. And this is why the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation promotes and supports all forms of international judicial cooperation. This is the first effective tool against this global threat. It is important to have a coordination between all the authorities for the promotion of judicial diplomacy. And I would like to share something personal with you. In every bilateral meeting, I always thanked for the work of our magistrates, not only in Italy but also abroad, in the fight against drug trafficking and transnational organized crime. This is a clear sign. Today, Italy is considered as the country of anti-mafia fight and not as the country of mafia. And I think that we have to be grateful for all of this. We have to be grateful to Paolo Borsellino and Giovanni Falcone, who were the first to export and disseminate this model. We are proud of this model, and for this model, we are admired all over the world. The program Falcone Borsellino, all the activities of the Iila, and I would like to thank the Secretary General, Ms. Cavallari, and the support of the Farnesina are a clear sign of all of this. These are operational tools necessary for international judicial cooperation. And this commitment is effective because it is based on mutual trust. And today I can see clear synergy among different countries of the world supporting each other. It is not a simple technical exchange, but a real moral and operational alliance. And it is a real honor for me to give the first international Falcone Borsellino Award to the Argentinian magistrate Carlos Maíquez. It is a career award for his commitment in the fight against organized crime and terrorism, for his support to international judicial cooperation, following the example of Falcone and Borsellino. We keep working all together to enhance and promote a global anti-mafia network able to protect our democracies and our fundamental rights. Thank you. Now Matteo Frasca will share the reasons behind this award to Carlos Maíquez.
Io ieri ho fatto il mio indirizzo di saluto in cui ho espresso le mie valutazioni su queste iniziative. Quella di oggi, del riconoscimento, è già stato detto da chi mi ha preceduto, a Carlos Maíquez, è credo il giusto corollario, la consacrazione dello spirito di Giovanni Falcone e di Paolo Borsellino. Lo scorso anno Roberta Metsola, parlando al Parlamento europeo, ha ricordato che vorrebbe un'Europa della quale Falcone e Borsellino fossero fieri. Io credo che oggi questo evento, in continuità con quello dell'anno scorso, serve a dare un riconoscimento internazionale del quale Falcone e Borsellino sarebbero sicuramente fieri, perché si realizza quella cooperazione internazionale nella quale loro credevano in modo particolare, per parlare il linguaggio comune della...
This embodies the spirit of Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. Because the mafia disrupts societies at all levels. Also, Giuseppe Di Lello will be awarded with this prize. But as of now, let's talk about Carlos Maíquez. His story is a very long and passionate one. He has always been committed to his work. He's very good at his work. He has many skills and abilities, and he has a vision. This is what Falcone and Borsellino would love to see. Palermo is in the spotlight today because of the commemoration of Paolo Borsellino and Giovanni Falcone. So thank you, Carlos. This is well deserved.
E ora la parola a Carlos Maíquez. Di regola sono i pubblici ministeri che parlano, i giudici scrivono, però oggi è giusto che sia Carlos Maíquez.
So now Carlos Maíquez will receive his award and he will tell us something.
Grazie di cuore.
Thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart. This is a very special opportunity to me. And now it is time to put my language aside, and it's the right occasion for me to speak in Italian. I remember in the early 90s, when I was still a young prosecutor, I remember that one day, one of my kids, who was 12 years old, he was with me in my office, and he saw a photograph of two smiling men. So he asked me who they were, because he didn't know them. That photograph depicted Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino, who were assassinated just a few months before by the mafia. I told my child that I kept their photograph up there in my office because it was a source of inspiration to me. It embodied sacrifice, courage in doing a work which is dangerous, such as the work of a criminal prosecutor. I told him about their sacrifice. They were martyrs and victims, at the same time heroes, because they defended the rule of law. Now this kid is a prosecutor in Buenos Aires. He's the president of the Association of Public Prosecutors, and he's here with me, along with my beloved wife, Rosana. Yesterday, when I saw so many friends and colleagues, I remembered about a judgment, a sentence, which Thomas the Saint wrote. A man owes something to many people according to different modes. It depends on the type and the amount of benefits that they received from each other of these people. I think that this sentence can express my gratitude towards Italy, first of all. Italy gave me the title of Knight to the Merit of the Italian Republic. And I'm also grateful to you and to all the people who, during my long career, spanning 50 years, taught me a lot, and who represent workers who work with, who preserve their dignity in working. This prize is an acknowledgement of my career and also the sign that I took part in the fight in order to support our common cause. Thank you, Giovanni Tartaglia Polcini. Thank you, Giovanni Melillo, Michele Papa, beloved friends and colleagues who decided to award me with this prize. Of course, I want to thank the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Affairs, Maria Tripodi. I also want to thank the President of the Court of Appeal of Palermo, Matteo Frasca, because they gave me such a great honor today in this beautiful hall of the Court of Palermo, which was the set of many important trials. The Italian magistracy has done so much progress in fighting the mafia and terrorism. They gave a major contribution in reforming the criminal system and the criminal code. In Argentina, we needed a lot of time to fight and to take the countermeasures necessary to fight Islamic terrorism. Criminality connected to drug trafficking is also a major problem because it puts at stake the whole society of ours. And magistrates play a crucial role in the courts and in all the places where they work. Argentina has a democratic regime now, but of course there are still problems there. For example, Italy requested for many years to revoke a decree giving the status of political refugee to a very dangerous terrorist. He's called Leonardo Bertolazzi. Such a decree was due to the concept by the previous regime that we had in Argentina. So nowadays things have changed, and I'm sure that in a short time Italy will win this battle, will get the extradition by the Supreme Argentinian Court. It is late, but such a judgment would restore the dignity that is well deserved to the victims of this terrorist. We know that organized crime and terrorism oblige magistrates to go deep and understand the reasons and the techniques of these smugglers and these terrorists. It's not only about safety or legislation. It is a political phenomenon which must be analyzed by judges and prosecutors. They have to literally excavate in the lives and the movements of these criminals in order to reconstruct their projects and their methods. Such a task is a very hard one. We cannot fail. According to my personal experience, and I'm very passionate about it. I recognize that it is a work where you have to study a lot and you have to reconstruct the mechanisms, you have to find evidence, and you have to find the relevant responsibilities. So the magistrates and all the people working within the judiciary system must plan a policy able to tackle criminal activities. Organized crime jeopardizes the political stability of countries, and it can contaminate the spirit of a state. In order to prevent it and to fight it, it is fundamental to know its internal mechanisms. Justice must give a clear definition of the people involved in the organized crime and the planning of killings, but also the intelligence forces and all the agencies must cooperate in this, because the information which is found must be turned into evidence, clear evidence, to be brought to trials. For this purpose, in our country, we could consider the establishment of a specialized jurisdiction with jurisdiction at a local level in order to fight microcriminality and terrorism of all types. We know that a state is a vertical structure based on bureaucracy. It's an institution. Terrorism and organized crime instead operate in a very different way. They are flexible. They operate in different countries, and they are very agile. So such a reality which we have to fight to obliges us to be concrete, to get tangible results. Article 416 bis of the Italian Criminal Code is a very important one, and we make reference to it. The notion of organized crime can be dealt with by a juridical and by a political point of view. This concept belongs to criminal procedure and to international legislations. So it's all based on the rationality of lawmakers. But nowadays we have to change this route. We have to act at a local level. We have to be more practical. The legal notions of organized crime and terrorism pose problems for lawmakers because definitions should be flexible, yet ultimate and conceived according to the principles of law. And each country has problems like this. The case of Argentina is a special one. There are no criminal agencies. The borders are very flexible, and our intelligence bodies are experiencing serious problems. The recent legislation against organized crime takes into account such a reality and is trying to outline the future pathway. Today we are commemorating the attack in Via D'Amelio. once again. So it's an occasion for some last remarks. The job of magistrates and prosecutors require a lot of courage. It's a necessary skill because those who are at the forefront must be courageous. It's about passion. Passion drives your interior resources and helps you win in the fear. This is built over time and thanks to experiences. It's not about single individuals. It's a kind of approach, a kind of attitude which leads you to fight against evil. So prosecutors must not only talk in court halls and they have to fight in a more practical way. In Argentina, in past years, the threats used to be directed toward judges. Today, the threats arrive from many sources, even from social networks. In Argentina, the judges are being delegitimated, but they must not feel lost. We have our Northern Star, which is the search for the truth. I am a witness of my age, and I must pay homage to those judges, public prosecutors, and police forces who were victims of the horrible violence by organized crime in our continent. Thank you so much.
Riprendiamo i lavori, prego i relatori del...
I invite the speakers of this last session to come here. And I invite Eduardo Casal to take my place as he will be moderating this session.
Vamos. Bueno. Buenos días.
Good morning. We are ready to start with this panel, and I'm honored to moderate this panel with a focus on the experience of Latin America in the fight against cross-border organized crime and the perspectives for judicial cooperation with Europe. I would like to thank Italy for hosting us and Mr. Melillo, the National Anti-Mafia and Anti-Terrorism Prosecutor in Italy, who has been supporting this cooperation between Italy and Latin America. I would like to thank also all the other colleagues working with the prosecutor, the persons in charge for the European program El Pacto 2.0, the Coppola program, the program Falcone Borsellino. And I would like to thank all the Italian authorities for being here today, and especially Mr. Matteo Frasca for giving us the chance to gather here. As Prosecutor General of Argentina and President of the Ibero-American Association of Public Prosecutors, I would like to share with you some thoughts concerning our experience in the fight against cross-border organized crime and the perspectives for judicial cooperation with Europe. The common diagnosis arising from previous meetings and the speeches of our colleagues is that we are seeing cross-border phenomena. What we see are organizations that know no border, have huge financial resources, and they operate through the use of modern and advanced technologies. Through the program El Pacto 2.0, as Mr. Tartaglia said, we managed to understand that the international environment represents a hub for new actors and new routes. And we are seeing an increase in gray areas where brokers or other criminal actors operate, and drug smuggling is one of the most widespread practices, compromising governance, citizenship through mechanisms and negative dynamics. For this reason, we need to enhance cross-border judicial cooperation. Starting from the Ibero-American Association of Public Prosecutors, we are 22 prosecutors in this association with an institutional statute well articulated. We have a clear strategy in order to support and boost a proper cooperation of joint investigation pools. So starting from the AIAMP, cooperation is organized at two different levels. On the one hand, we have a general level rooted in a pact establishing interinstitutional mechanisms for cooperation. And then there are other formal channels, the traditional ones we already know. And on the other hand, we have a specific level through the creation of a network, the AIAMP, dealing with human trafficking and other crimes. We work together on a daily basis. This network puts in touch all the prosecutors. The goal is to promote the use of joint investigation pools. And these pools represent a crucial asset for cooperation. Traditional cooperation was based on requests and responses. Working on the same case, thanks to this new network, we are able to exchange information and data in real time. And today, this is a true pillar in the practices of the AIAMP. Since 2019, we've approved a framework agreement for the creation of 60 joint investigation pools for cooperation with Spain, Italy, Poland, and Albania. Out of these 62 pools, the Public Prosecutor's Office in Argentina has been actively supporting 16 pools. Some of these pools are still under implementation, but two of these pools were already created with Italy and Spain, and agreements were signed, and another agreement only with Italy. We are working on a third agreement for the creation of another joint investigation pool with Italy as well. So we can say that the AIMP is a strong organization with a success story. Our strategy is based on two main goals. On the one hand, to transform dynamics of international cooperation, to promote cooperation, and then we want to build strategic alliances with other regions. And Europe represents a priority to us. This is not only a simple strategic decision, but a real necessity based on evidences. Many criminal organizations operating in Latin America have branches, financial, logistics branches in Europe. With this perspective, during our last General Assembly in Madrid in May, we signed agreements with the European Prosecutor's Office in Montenegro and other countries, and we are negotiating with other organisms and public prosecutors' offices. These agreements provide for the exchange of information, transfer of knowledge, and good practices. We know that crime is transnational today, so we have to enhance and strengthen our structures to take our investigations everywhere. This new articulation will allow us to reach operational and strategic agreements. Today's meeting is an important occasion for the creation of platforms, networks to improve international cooperation against any kind of criminal activity. Our association, the American Association, knows how to tackle these new challenges. We can rely on prosecutors able to cooperate. Today, we've reached 70 years of experience in this field. We have to exploit the tools of international cooperation. We have to establish new measures at different levels. I was invited here as the president of the AIAMP, but also as the Prosecutor General of Argentina. And for this reason, I would like to share something about my country as well. In our model, we try to put together internal specialization with external cooperation for investigations at international level. And this has led to the enhancing of specialized structures for the fight against this phenomenon, cybercrime, economic crimes, money laundering, and to follow money flows, illegal money flows, to retrieve capitals and assets. Recently, I had the chance to approve the implementation rules against these crimes for investigations and for the role of public prosecutors. These rules contribute to enhance the activities of the Public Prosecutor's Office in Argentina to ensure a better specialization in terms of capital analysis and investigations with a focus on the retrieval of assets. Boosting international cooperation and strengthening the interinstitutional cooperation during internal investigations. This tool contributes to increase the efficiency of international cooperation without undermining the role of single public prosecutors. This institutional policy is based on the acknowledgement of the fact that the international crime operates in a well-structured way at the transnational level, with deep impacts at the social level concerning the functioning of democratic institutions. For this reason, we must implement a new approach to combine the work of Public Prosecutor's Office and the work of other authorities, and to encourage cooperation at an interinstitutional level in a proactive way. The AIAMP can play a central role in this regard. To conclude, I would like to underline once again the institutional commitment of the Prosecutor's Office of Argentina and of the AIAMP to keep strengthening and enhancing specialized networks, promoting the work of joint investigation pools in cooperation with other countries, with Europe in general, to tackle these challenges. We have to cooperate. We cannot tackle these challenges individually. We can only reach success strengthening the relations between national and international organizations. As I said, the only way to fight international organized crime is to cooperate. The AIAMP is fully committed in this regard, and it will support the creation of a network of public prosecutors' office. Through these alliances, we will be able to tackle challenges. We'll follow a specific roadmap. The main goal is to implement actual measures to fight against injustice. I would like to thank the organizers of this event, and I would like to do so for many reasons. First of all, for giving me the chance to moderate this panel and share this panel with renowned colleagues, together with the AIAMP, which I represent here today. We have to acknowledge the role of the Council for promoting cooperation. And I would like also to thank all the participants and all people for being here in such an important day in which we commemorate the Judge Paolo Borsellino. It is important to organize this meeting today. This is a testimony of the value we keep promoting, a sign of our commitment, as Borsellino is an example to follow for all of us. Yesterday, we celebrated the 31st anniversary since the attack at the synagogue in Argentina, the attack we mentioned earlier. And I would also like to underline the mistakes committed in this regard. We had to work hard during these investigations. As Carlos Maíquez said before, the Public Prosecutor's Office of Argentina has created a specialized secretary and office for the investigation on this attack and for the fight against terrorism. Through this specialized office, which is a supporting office, in 2023, we've signed an agreement, a cooperation agreement with the Anti-Mafia and Anti-Terrorism Prosecutor's Office, led by National Public Prosecutor Giovanni Melillo. Thanks to this agreement, we can cooperate in this field. And of course, this is an important step forward for boosting cooperation between our institutions. Thank you.
Ahora tiene la palabra.
Now let's give the floor to Mr. Hindeburgo Chateaubriand Finho, Vice Procurator General of Brazil. Sorry, Vice Prosecutor General. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again, dear Giovanni Delillo, Giovanni Melillo, Giovanni Tartaglia Polcini, for having me here. Thank you for organizing such an important event. The reason that gathers us today is to pay again a homage to those people who died due to the mafia. The mafia is a very serious disease. It originates from social exclusion and poverty. But some people really believed that our option is to fight against the mafia. And that's our goal, to find the most effective way to tackle the mafia. Now we realize that the mafia affects local communities, but also very distant ones. Let's talk about Brazil. Gangs and criminal groups are essential to the territory, and they represent a link between drug producers and drugs consumers. They operated locally, but then they overcame borders and started working abroad by smuggling drugs and laundering money. Their organizations and their strategic methods are affecting the whole chain of such a consumption. They take advantage of the borders of Brazil, which are very long ones and very strategic places. They use encrypted communication tools and they have direct access to the big providers of cocaine, and they corrupt public workers. They adapt very easily to sudden changes in order to escape police raids. They also work with money laundering, deforestation, and human trafficking and migrant smuggling. The routes of drug smuggling start in Brazil and they reach Europe and Africa. The PCC, Primeiro Comando da Capital, as we have seen yesterday, is an important example. Such organization, founded in 1993, is today the most powerful one in Brazil and maybe in the world. It has a strict hierarchy. It has an internal charter. It has committed homicides, even killing prosecutors, and it has killed more than 100 policemen. I also refer to the words by the prosecutor of Paraná, who spoke about organized crime in the Triple Frontier, where many crimes multiply, drug trafficking and all sorts of illegal activities. Through these practices, illegal money flows become more and more fluid, and they are also used to corrupt public workers. Also, the Triple Frontier is thought to be the place where terrorists stay and get funds. Now, the countries belonging to the Mercosur are thinking about establishing a specialized agency in order to favor the cooperation among police forces in Latin America. Brazil is directly involved in the interests of international criminal organizations, such as the Italian ones. The presence of 'Ndrangheta in Brazil is proved, and it was proved since 2019. Some members of the 'Ndrangheta were found there, and they had weapons, drugs, container parts, and very sophisticated devices, proving their links with Brazilian organized crime. Such an investigation led to the creation of a specialized team. Such team revealed a huge drug trafficking based on in Rio de Janeiro, but traveling towards Belgium, Italy, and Morocco. The drugs was included among legal goods, and the operators and the marketers didn't even know about it. But we seized 6 tons of drugs, which was hidden like I've just described. The sharing of proof, testimonies, also downloaded by Sky ECC, were fundamental tools in order to fight these organizations. Vincenzo Pasquino is an Italian citizen who was arrested in Brazil, and he has proven links with the PCC. Before being extradited to Italy, he was interrogated in Brazil, and he spoke about fundamental links between Brazilian and Italian criminal groups. Another example I want to make is Cosa Nostra, that joined some Brazilian criminal groups in Rio and Paraíba, these regions. A specialized team built in 2022 revealed that fake companies were created in order to hide 500 million euros. That company invested in restaurants, real estate, tourism, and all of that was made through the money originated from drugs and extortions in Palermo. Some people involved, such as Giuseppe Bruno, were arrested here, and he's considered to be the boss of such an organization. And also people belonging to this association were arrested in Brazil. It was a great achievement, a successful operation. So Italian and Brazilian citizens, for a total of 9 people, were put under trial for this. All these examples show that the fight against transnational criminality needs a very effective coordination by the involved countries and supervised by the corresponding ministry. By the corresponding public prosecutor, sorry. This is true for common investigation teams. The public prosecutor should lead and supervise and also know everything about all the people who are involved in such an investigation, for example, among the police forces. I'm saying this because there's a proposal of organized joint investigation teams formed only by policemen, but I don't think this is fair. I don't think this is enough. Public prosecutors should have important roles in these teams. Because if we want to carry out a criminal trial, we need a serious and an in-depth investigation before that. Also, we need to reduce bureaucracy in order to favor the exchange of information among prosecutors' offices all around the world. We need to track down the criminal networks thanks to intelligence operations. We need to track down money flows. We need to make more investments in the ongoing training of judges and prosecutors. The national and federal prosecutors must have a good knowledge of the new technologies used by criminal groups, for example, encrypted languages and blockchain devices used for laundering money. This is crucial for our job to be effective. Maybe we should be even more ambitious. because any measure which we come up with will be not sufficient if we do not think about a continuous and structured mechanism of cooperation. It's not about doing some operations here and there. We need to have a permanent structure because criminal groups are more and more flexible. So in order to fight them, we have to do like they do. We need permanent teams, common systems to exchange information. We need to enlarge cross-border activities in order to monitor criminal activities. We've already been talking about Eurojust besides ItaJust. At least we have to talk about all these initiatives. And now to conclude, thank you so much for your attention and thank you for organizing such an important event. Thank you.
Doctora Espinosa, fiscal nacional de Perú. Adelante.
Muy buenos días, excelentísimo.
Good morning, dear colleagues, representatives of ministries in Europe and Latin America. I would like to thank you all on behalf of my country and thank you for inviting me here at this meeting to commemorate Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino, but also to celebrate the commitment of public prosecutors who day by day fight against organized crime thanks to their vocation for justice. And it is a true honor to me to be here and deliver a speech. We are here today not only to share experiences and strategies, but also to strengthen our relations, paying tribute to all those people who sacrificed their life for justice: Falcone, Borsellino, Antonio José Machado Diaz, Martello Pecci Albertini, César Suarez. These names do not belong only to the countries of origin of these people, but to the international community overall, fighting for the rule of law. In a time in which transnational organized crime is evolving and keeps corrupting the society, their example reminds us that cooperation is the only way we have to fight against this threat. In Peru, we are dealing with drug smuggling, illegal mining exploitation, money laundering, corruption. So today we are here to repeat and reaffirm once again our commitment for a borderless justice, because public prosecutors' office are present in every country affected by organized crime. 30 years after the bombing of Capaci and Via D'Amelio, we can reaffirm that their fight, the fight of those people, is our fight today. And I would like to share the experience of Peru with you here in the fight against cross-border organized crime, I would like to share something about the role of public prosecutors in the criminal system in Peru. The fight against organized crime takes place at two levels. At an internal level, where the public prosecutor is the person in charge for the criminal action and the prosecution from the start to the end. We do not have an investigating judge, but we have the prosecutor directing investigations, imposing restrictive measures. He's in charge of the prosecution. This leads to complex investigations. Of course, we cooperate with specialized units of the police and together with other jurisdictions. When we have to deal with international crimes, the public prosecutor becomes a key actor for investigation through formal channels and mechanisms of direct contact. Following our criminal model, the prosecutor's office for international cooperation and extradition coordinates several mechanisms, from international judicial assistance mechanisms, which are very important for the fight against organized crime, and of course the implementation and the use of joint investigation pools. In 2024, we convicted 501 people belonging to criminal gangs. Unfortunately, we only managed to get these results for small gangs and not for transnational criminal organizations. In 2025, 207 convictions were expressed by judges. Over the last years, in Peru, we strengthened models of specializations to be more efficient in the fight against complex structures. Among the most important subsystems, we have specialized prosecutors' office against organized crime, and today we have 55 offices at national level, and these prosecutors' offices work in different fields and areas represented by specialized prosecutors' offices for drug trafficking or terrorism. These prosecutors' offices dealing with drug trafficking are 36 at a national level, and they work and deal with micro trade and macro trade of drug. We can also count on specialized prosecutors' offices for terrorism, working both at a domestic level and at an international level. And they also deal with investigations on drug smuggling and drug terrorism. For example, the investigation Sendero Luminoso. In this way, we are able to underline the relation between organized crime and drug traffickers. These criminals try to control transportation routes, laboratories, armed protection, and they're able to monitor financial routes. These organizations can have an international relevance because money flows are important. So what we need is external support. And criminal organizations often exploit arm trafficking. We also have other specialized groups. And a clear example are the international groups of aguacate. In Brazil, in Spain, we carried out fiscal requisitions for the recovery of assets. What are the characteristics of organized crime, transnational organized crime in Peru? First of all, the system is extremely diversified in terms of illegal economies. Besides drug trafficking, there are other activities. For example, illegal mining. In 2025, the intelligence unit in Peru detected suspected movements relating to illegal mining for 2,248 million of American dollars. In the departments of Madre de Dios, La Libertad. Of course, these activities generate armed violence, human trafficking, environmental contamination, violence, corruption. Another example of diversification of illegal activities is, as I mentioned before, illegal mining, which today contributes to mobilize and transform illegal capitals, even more compared to drug trafficking in Peru. Concerning illegal deforestation, according to the Environmental Agency in 2024, the level of illegal deforestation reached more than 2 million hectares. Just to give you an idea of the dimension of this activity, it is equal to the size of Haiti. Environmental crimes do not concern only deforestation, but also the killing of indigenous communities and leaders living in the Amazon forest. Then we've identified another phenomenon, which is human trafficking, also relating to environmental crimes and deforestation. We are dealing with true slaves in these areas in the forest, and then we are dealing with child labor and human trafficking. All these activities are intertwined and are carried out by international organizations. And then we have asset laundering and money laundering through the use of false companies, allowing for the transfer of funds. Also, companies registered in the United States. And then we have extortion, which is a real threat at a national level. In Lima, the capital city of Peru, where we have the highest density in terms of population, this criminal phenomenon is pretty common. And it is the most visible aspect of crime in Peru. It is not an isolated phenomenon. or used to attack the economy and finances of the richest people. Today, this is a criminal activity supported by national and international networks, often cooperating with foreign mafias such as the Tren de Aragua. This extortion is relating also to contract killings, underlines the insecurity of citizens in Peru. Why? Because extortion is related to big economies and entrepreneurs, workers. Extortion can affect any citizen, common citizens, to exploit people. And this has led to identification of a specific phenomenon, and we managed to understand that international crime does not operate only at the highest levels, but their methods are used at any level. They manage to track money at all levels of population and society, regardless of the social status of people. These structures and networks are very agile, flexible. They are able to expand from a logistics perspective, and they are protected. Why? Because they can rely on the use of arms, weapons. And in Peru, we are fighting against several criminal gangs and groups. But these groups are able to reconstitute themselves. They can rely on support from logistics and transport perspective. Another feature is the support from authorities. We've mentioned cases of the arrest of local authorities, mayors, police officers supporting these illegal activities. There are several trials for corruption undergoing. And this is especially true in areas where the presence of the state is pretty weak. Criminal groups from Peru finance very often judges, police officers, politicians to ensure protection. So they use selective violence through persecution, murders, to control vulnerable communities. And this happens in the most remote areas of the country, where criminal governments are in place. The work of the public prosecutor in Peru is extremely difficult. Over the last 3 years, we've approved legal reforms limiting and weakening the use of procedural tools, affecting the effectiveness of criminal investigations. For example, the amendment of Ley 30007 on organized crimes against the measures of the Convention of Palermo. And of course, this had an impact on cooperation on the existing laws and contributed to put pressure on the population. We've tried to restore these laws for the persecution of criminals. Among the laws affected, there is the law for the requisition of money and assets in the country. And other laws were approved supporting, for example, illegal deforestation. Of course, objections were raised by international institutions and prosecutors because these laws limit the ability of the prosecutor to investigate. And we live in a context trying to limit the influence of prosecutors' office, especially prosecutors' office fighting against criminal networks. This compromises the work of public prosecutors and is a real threat for the society. And very often, the media and the press do not contribute to improve the situation. Since 2000, we've been trying in a successful way to deal with the consequences of dictatorships we had in the past in the country. In this way, we managed to get to the most remote areas of the country, but we still need specialized police forces and units for investigations. For this reason, very often prosecutors have to deal with complicated tasks and undercover operations. We are fully committed to do our job, and I would like to thank the international authorities for supporting us, for giving us the proper tools for our training. What are the perspectives? The perspectives for judicial cooperation at an international level. For example, in Europe, thanks to the experience we managed to cooperate with European authorities for money laundering, drug trafficking. Cooperation was possible thanks to the coordination with the foreign authorities and the use of advanced techniques of investigations. But we have to deal with the limited institutional ability to understand the way of operation of European mafias and criminal cartels in Latin America. Differently from what happens with criminal groups in Southern America, for example, the Tren de Aragua, the European criminal organizations are still difficult to understand. For this reason, cooperation with Europe is necessary. We have to keep working on these aspects. The recent arrest of Giuseppe Palermo in Bogota, key player of the Ndrangheta in Latin America, confirms the presence of European mafia structures in our country and region. we managed to document the structure of these organizations and the work of these criminals. There's still a critical gap in terms of knowledge. And this shows the importance of adopting a specialized and integrated perspective. The arrest of Pasquale Bifulco, member of the 'Ndrangheta in Peru, is a sign that European mafias are present and active in Peru. And they are expanding their presence in the region. We detected a trafficking of over 2 million tons of cocaine. We've conducted a joint operation called Poseidon in cooperation with European authorities. This operation has revealed a structural deficit in the ability of prosecutors in Peru to identify and monitor the presence of foreign mafias in our country. European mafias are more discreet when they operate, are more sophisticated compared to local criminal organizations. And this requires a different institutional response. We've also detected operations of money laundering by structures associated with the Sicilian mafia. These operations were first detected by our financial systems. But everything was possible thanks to the transfer of and the exchange of information and data with European authorities, with an international cooperation. Once again, we have to improve the ability of the state to promptly identify these threats. Because we are still relying on alerts from other authorities and foreign authorities. In this slide, you can see data concerning cooperation with Europe in 2024. This is the formal aspect, but we have an informal aspect we should underline and highlight. We have to share information rapidly based on the principle of mutual trust. For this reason, the prosecutor's office in Peru, based on our experience, would like to propose some measures and actions. For example, the creation of financial and police groups in Peru, only dealing with transnational organized crime in Latin America and Europe, with the knowledge of operational methods and with an ability to analyze, to map, to monitor logistic flows. And at the same time, we propose joint missions so that prosecutors and European experts can deal with complex cases under investigation in Peru or in Latin America in general, to have a real understanding of the functioning of criminal networks at a global level. And it is important to enhance the direct exchange between prosecutors, exchange of information concerning criminals or logistics ports, for example. We have to create horizontal relations and functional relations among the prosecutors of different countries and continents in order to generate mutual trust. We also promote the consolidation of joint investigation pools, especially for investigations for the identification of routes between Latin America and Europe. And we also propose the enhancing of national and international agreements with specialized prosecutors able to analyze criminal patterns, common criminal patterns in these countries. Furthermore, we propose a knowledge exchange concerning European criminal network. Many prosecutors' offices don't have clear information concerning the mechanisms of Albanian mafias or mafians from Eastern Europe in general. For this reason, it is important to share information, methods, and knowledge in general. It is important to create relations with those European countries with which we do not have any agreement at the moment. In order to fight against international organized crime, we've signed an agreement with Eurojust and the Public Prosecutor's Office of Peru in The Hague in 2024. And during the meeting of the AIAMP in Madrid, we've signed an agreement between the Public Prosecutor's Office in Peru and European institutions. To conclude, I would like to highlight the fact that the experience of Peru and in general of Latin America shows that the fight against organized crime at an international level requires specific judicial tools. The commitment of prosecutors, a stronger formal and informal cooperation, and better operational understanding of the phenomenon. In complex environments, such as Peru, where we see corruption, illegal activities, and criminal networks, the knowledge of financial routes was fundamental to identify criminal organizations. The fragmentation and the insufficient knowledge of the modus operandi of these mafias cannot rely only on official and formal cooperation. So what we propose is a better and more flexible cooperation and exchange among prosecutors, the creation of international groups for investigation operations. Thanks to mutual trust and joint action, we could anticipate, prevent, investigate, and prosecute effectively these criminal networks, which are a threat for our nations and have an impact on our development, on justice. Thank you for your attention.
Doctor Ángel Valencia, el fiscal nacional de Chile.
Now, I leave the floor to the prosecutor of Chile.
En primer lugar, muy buenos días a todas y todos. En primer lugar, agradecer a los organizadores, al Pacto 2.0.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank the organizers of such an important event, Copolab, El Pacto 2.0, the national prosecutor, Mr. Melillo. Thank you so much for having me here. I will make an effort. I'm trying to be concise. Of course, it is an important event where everybody is called to tell about our experience before the phenomenon of organized crime. And our goal is to act together, united. This is what also Falcone and Borsellino taught us. It's their legacy. I find that they are a big source of inspiration. We have regulations, we have treaties, but how can we work even better in the legal framework and trying to defend the rule of law and trying to get a safer and better society for all of us while respecting all the rules. New solutions come up in order to find, in order to fight this problem. But it is necessary to speed up and find newer and newer solutions all the time, because criminal groups run fast and they are very quick. Maybe we are not working very well from a collective point of view. And I mean that we have to improve in every aspect. We have to make an analysis, but we also have to share a vision. In Italy, you are very proud of your work. The Undersecretary said that. Because from Italy you have exported the anti-mafia as well. It's a big result which was achieved thanks to the effort by everybody, by all the prosecutors' offices. However, we often complain about transnational crime and its ability to expand more and more. Everybody knows that. Especially in the southern parts of the world, just like I do. And I have to say that if we keep acting like we've always had, we cannot solve the problems. It's even worse. The problems could exacerbate. So, from my point of view, we have the obligation to tackle the problems from two different angles, at a national level and at an international level. I would like to stress that locally, I can make some examples. In Chile, we've always had some criminal groups growing faster and faster, and today they have a cross-border presence. You are well aware of such phenomena, but in Chile we were not used to such things, and our citizens are not very safe today because there are killings all the time. So the rate of killings has increased, and the parliament wanted to act. And similarly to what happened in Italy, all the country is trying to come together, and our institutions and our parliament are trying to work in order to improve the legislations so that the public prosecutors have more tools in order to work within our country and at an international level. And our prosecutor's office are mainly responsible for their own local area. So there's this local approach. Organized crime instead has a cross-border dimension now. I want to thank the Italians for having launched such a project which contributes to the training of judges and prosecutors who fight organized crime. It's about technical skills, but it's also about the commitment towards the rule of law and towards a fair trial. Of course, if we fight for democracy, we have to find a way to overcome obstacles. Democracy is no obstacle. It gives us the tools in order to work and defend the rule of law. And Italy is a leader in this. So we need a supranational prosecutor's office and more training for our prosecutors. I'm trying to be very concise, so I'm just here to convey some message to you, to all of you personally. We have tools, we have investigation teams in common, we have devices, but what we should do is to get another perspective, to implement another approach, because it would help us carry out a better work together. So there are things which we can neglect, but what we need is more organization. We have to be well organized, just like organized crimes are. The criminal groups are very active, and they pose dangers and challenges every day. So let's try and do something, because otherwise next year we will meet and we will complain about the same problems all the time. So while we're here, let's try and make it happen. Let's try and cooperate in a feasible and tangible way. Thank you so much.
Nacional de Panamá.
I will now give the floor to Luis Carlos Manuel Gomez Rudi, Prosecutor General of Panama and National Representative of the AIAMP Association.
Muy buen día a las distinguidas autoridades.
Good morning, dear authorities, dear National Prosecutor Mr. Melillo, Mr. Eduardo Ezequiel Casal, Prosecutor General of Argentina and President of the AIAMP, dear prosecutors, representatives of the prosecutors' offices in Europe and Latin America, dear Italian authorities, experts, and representatives of international organizations, ladies and gentlemen. Due to our strategic position, my country, Panama, is extremely vulnerable, allowing for a better expansion for organized crime, with crimes such as human trafficking, drug trafficking, money laundering. In this particular context, Together with Europe and Italy, we signed an agreement. And I will now show you a short video to tell you something about the current situation in Panama.
Conectando más de 180 rutas marítimas y 144 puertos en todo el mundo, Panamá es mucho más que un canal. Es la arteria comercial del hemisferio, moviendo miles de contenedores diariamente. Un punto neurálgico que, sin embargo, también ha sido blanco del crimen organizado transnacional, especialmente en lo relacionado con el tráfico de mercancía ilícita como las drogas. El tráfico internacional de estupefacientes ha encontrado una puerta de entrada en los puertos latinoamericanos, en particular en países como Chile, Ecuador, Perú, Colombia y Panamá, cuyos destinos suelen estar asociados principalmente a puertos europeos, entre ellos Bélgica, Italia y Alemania. En Panamá, una de las modalidades más inquietantes del narcotráfico es la contaminación de contenedores, siendo los refrigerados con mercancía perecedera los más vulnerables debido a la prioridad que reciben en la cadena logística. El crimen organizado transnacional ha perfeccionado su estrategia combinando corrupción, falsificación de sellos y accesos no autorizados, aprovechando tanto las brechas de seguridad como la complejidad operativa de los puertos. Estas redes delictivas recurren desde las infiltraciones en zonas logísticas hasta el uso de tecnología para el rastreo ilegal de contenedores, configurando así un modus operandi cada vez más sofisticado y difícil de detectar. Ante esta amenaza global, Panamá ha liderado macrooperaciones conjuntas con fiscales de América Latina y Europa. Estas alianzas estratégicas han permitido compartir inteligencia, judicializar redes transnacionales y atacar la acumulación ilícita de activos. Como resultado, desde el año 2018 a la fecha, se han incautado al menos 114.8 toneladas de droga, impactando esta economía criminal por un valor estimado de $3.962.760.000. Durante el 2025, Panamá ha tenido importantes aciertos en la detección de contenedores contaminados bajo distintas modalidades, rip-off, contenedores refrigerados e incluso doble fondos. Sin embargo, la lucha contra el narcotráfico enfrenta retos significativos, entre ellos la falta de respuesta y coordinación oportuna por parte de algunos puertos en materia de inspección, ausencia de datos de movilización de contenedores en tiempo real, limitación en videovigilancia y carencia de equipos de escaneo eficiente para detectar sustancias ilícitas. A pesar de estas limitaciones, Panamá continúa sin descanso la lucha contra el crimen organizado, apostando por mayor inteligencia, cooperación internacional, voluntad y justicia frente a este flagelo que afecta a toda la humanidad. Nuestro país no se detiene, sigue firme en su compromiso porque esta batalla es de todos.
Si me permiten colocar las diapositivas, por favor.
This is the context in which we operate. This is the logistic operation organization in Panama, situated between Northern and Southern America. A key point and a strategic point for containers. And of course, this contributes to attract criminals taking advantage from this intense traffic for the passage of drug. We have a lot of containers mobilized daily. We receive lots of cargoes and goods which are not inspected, and of course this facilitates contamination. Inspections are not complete, and it is impossible to monitor every single container we have, especially in big ports, as it happens all over the world. In Panama, we have several organizations working for safety and against this crime, drug trafficking, for the identification of drug routes. We try to work inside ports. We fight against drug trafficking. And our commitment led to the confiscation of huge quantities of drug. In Panama, the Specialized Prosecutor's Office for Drug Trafficking works together with other professionals inside the ports of the country. We try to implement operations for the dismantling of criminal groups. Different ways of contamination of containers are used by criminal groups. For example, the use of advanced technologies to hide goods inside the containers, and also the creation of false companies for the mobilization of containers and to allow containers to reach the destination countries. The maritime routes used by organized crime, we've identified many routes. We've identified origin ports. The main ones are located in Ecuador, in Peru, and also other ports in Europe. For example, the port of Antwerp in Belgium, Gioia Tauro in Italy, and Hamburg in Germany. Europe is the continent with the highest rate of confiscation, equal to 77%. Equal to around 79 tons confiscated compared to the previous year. International organized crime assesses the characteristics of ports and containers to hide drug. Some regions and ports are more attractive and interesting than others, for example, the ports of Peru. And then there's a use of refrigerated containers used for the conservation of perishable food. And this is a new way to hide drug inside containers. The international drug trafficking towards Europe uses containers as the main way for the mobilization of illegal substances. For this reason, transnational organized crime uses corruption, falsification, illegal accesses for its crimes. And this is one of the biggest challenges also for the safety of ports. Of course, there's a huge gap. False documents are used by criminals and also other methods, special methods. For example, the use of false seals on containers. In this way, it is impossible to identify the cargo and goods transported inside the containers. So criminal groups use more and more sophisticated ways to mobilize goods from Latin America to Europe. We need stricter inspections in ports and advanced technologies to prevent the falsification and modification of systems. The public prosecutor of Panama, in cooperation with other collaborators, including the Ministry for National Safety, managed to hinder the introduction of 88 containers transporting around 30,000 kilos of illegal substances directed to Europe. This was an important operation, joint operation, and is a sign of the commitment of the country in the fight against drug trafficking, with a strengthening of custom inspections. Interinstitutional cooperation played a pivotal role in this regard, especially for the control of the point of access of goods. An example is represented by what was discovered in May 2025. We received an alert by the anti-drug unit. They informed us of the presence of drug inside a container in one of the terminal of the port. And this was the first operation leading to an inspection and the identification of 7,000 packages of white powder cocaine for around 8,200 kilos of materials. And this was one of the biggest confiscation in the region, showing the power of drug trafficking. Concerning containers, we know that Guayaquil is one of the main ports for the departure of containers with drug. In one specific case, the container left the port and arrived in Panama. Of course, our institutions are exploited by criminal organizations. Here in this slide, you can see the country of origin, the country of arrival of containers, and the quantity transported. Concerning scenarios relating to seizures, in 2025, we reached a total amount of 114.3 tons of drug seized. Over 3.9 billion of American dollars. It was a very important operation carried out in 2025. An important result for interinstitutional cooperation, also thanks to the support received at an international level. In this slide, we can see diagrams showing the different routes departing from Panama and arriving in Europe, as I mentioned before. Concerning investigations of drug trafficking, it is important to focus on the inspection of seals and materials. Here you can see several examples of seals showing how the different administrations or jurisdictions corrupted by drug smugglers are involved in these operations and traffics. Here we can see labels, which can be drawings or numbers or symbols used by criminal organizations to differentiate the lot of drug contained in the containers and also the receiver. So they are a clear sign of the origin and the quantity of drug. We have to deal with many, many challenges. Our work is very difficult. We have to act for the identification of drug inside containers in maritime routes, and we have to provide responses. But delays in actions and responses have a negative impact on our activity. It is important to acknowledge that the mobilization of containers often happens with delay. Monitoring cameras do not provide accurate information. Very often we have to deal with difficulties and obstacles in irregular accesses and unauthorized accesses, which are impossible to identify. And then there's a lack of control and inspections of containers. In this way, criminals are able to load illegal substances inside containers. And this also happens with the participation of European citizen countries. Colibri is one of the main operations conducted with France. And then we have the operation Oiro, Felix, or Corsaro, a very important investigation carried out together with Spain. Among the main crimes in Panama, it is important to mention the cases requesting international cooperation and leading to the confiscation of capitals and assets intended for money laundering. In this regard, the exchange of information is extremely important. We have to enhance cooperation and communications between agencies, authorities. It is also important to create network for international cooperation. For example, we have the anti-drug network of public prosecutors. This is a very important network. And then we have to promote the sharing of information. This is important to facilitate our operations, especially during investigations, and also the use of technology. Drug trafficking is not an isolated phenomenon. We have to cooperate and coordinate to be effective. This is why judicial cooperation shall be turned into a shared responsibility. We have to work together at the same time. And it is important to do so to prevent the regeneration of drug trafficking. Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing a structural threat, but we are also dealing with a great historical opportunity. We could be able to transform our ports in point of control and effective points of control. Thank you.
Allora, molte grazie.
I want to thank the colleagues who have just spoken from Peru, from Panama, from Chile, and from Brazil. Now it is a moment which has its importance. And we owe a prize to this man who will receive the homages by the all prosecutors general in Italy and by the president of the court of Palermo. It's a group of people revealing the shared thoughts of gratitude, which stand for this little sign of our gratitude, the gratitude that we hold towards a great judge such as Giuseppe Di Lello. Thank you for being here, Giuseppe. This is a small prize. My fellow Latin American colleagues, he was one of the 4 instructing judges. I'm sorry, the speaker does not speak in the mic, so I can't hear.
Grazie. Non vi intratterrò a lungo.
Thank you. I'm going to be concise. I promise. I think that the example of Falcone and Borsellino stands in their professionalism and great independence. But I would like to add something which was suggested to me by Mr. Maikes. Passion. Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino were filled with passion for their work. Like an intellectual from the South, Guido D'Urso, said, "You need a great passion in order to defeat a great injustice." And that's what they did through their life. They had such a passion which is inspiring in order to fight and hopefully defeat organized crime. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Madonna, capito? Questo va conservato perché è un reperto. È arrivato il momento delle...
So now is the time to conclude our works. First of all, I have to thank you again for participating in this meeting such a huge number of prosecutors from Italy and Latin America and the rest of Europe have participated in these meetings. I'm talking about meetings in the plural because at the same time in neighboring rooms, there are some bilateral meetings going on in order to exchange information and reach new agreements. It's a crucial job which we have to carry out, and I have to thank Ms. Barbara Sargenti and the other judges from the anti-mafia department. I also have to thank more people. Piero Grasso for his presence.
Procuratore nazionale antimafia e già procuratore della Repubblica di Palermo.
He has been the prosecutor of Palermo and the president of the Italian Senate. I have to thank Giuseppe Antoci. I have to thank Senator Provenzano. I have to thank the Undersecretary, Mrs. Tripodi. Special thanks to Matteo Frasca Elia Sava, who have helped me organizing this event. Another special thanks to Giulio Romano. I also want to thank Piero Gaeta, Prosecutor General at the Supreme Italian Court. There is a common will to cross our paths and share our functions and share values and cross pathways between the national prosecutors and the judges in the Supreme Court. It's a very long pathway that we have to walk, but just like international cooperation, there's no alternative to it. We have to cooperate. I also have to thank many people who are not usually remembered. Instead, I think that they need to be mentioned. Thanks to the staff of IILA, the whole staff. It's a long list of people. I want to thank the team of the Court of Appeal, Gianbruno Di Benedetto, several people.
Claudia Candido, Girolamo Patellaro, Salvatore Chiarelli, Vincenzo Saporito, Valentina Leggio.
I also want to thank the team from the General Prosecutor's Office of Palermo. And here is another long list of people. Also want to thank the team from the National Anti-Mafia Department.
Luogotenente Angelo Di Santo, le dottoresse Maria Silvana Forte e Luana Tricarico. Come vedete,
as you see, these are so many names, but it's also a way to give you an idea of the amount of work, of hard work that was done in order to organize such event. These meetings and they're taking place on the same day. We commemorate the sacrifice by Paolo Borsellino and his escort man. Where should have been, well, this event could have been an occasion to pause and to set aside all the complaints and the misunderstandings within the field of magistracy. However, I think that we need to work based on care, respect, dialogue, and a common sense of responsibility. We have to replace these positive and good feelings with the awareness that we need to have in order to fight our battles. During these days, we have remembered many times in many of the speeches Carlo Maikes as well. I mean, all over the world, in different contexts and in different times, we've seen that it is essential to defend democracy and safety in our country and in other states. It is crucial to celebrate the work of magistrates and to protect them. A common feature in all the speeches which I've listened to all the speeches contained the narratives, the experiences, but they share a common feature, the need to safeguard the independence of the magistracy. And it's difficult to put that into practice and to teach that and to spread awareness about this need. And institutions must work in order to preserve the independence. The principle of independence is key. And now I want to remind you that without an independent magistracy, it is almost impossible to analyze the criminal phenomenon and to conceive effective fighting strategies. Because before you set up a strategy, you have to analyze, try to understand how serious and how complex these phenomena are. Our task is to have a look at reality, taking advantage of our independence. It's a value that was conquered after many fights. We must realize that nowadays criminal groups are a threat to the stability and safety of distant regions, but also of the European countries at a global scale, but also at a European level. We've seen that the criminal groups have a solid structure. They share strategies to mobilize money flows, they share common speculation strategies. All these phenomena are here to stay. The problem is that all these phenomena are going to get worse due to many factors. Wars on sanctions will surely give more power to the criminal groups because there are going to be more illegal trade exchanges, you know? Counterfeit goods are meant to reach all normal people and who cannot afford branded items. We should have a look at reality in a realistic way in order to realize that criminal groups are a danger because they destabilize democracies and states. During wars, there are the ideal conditions for the criminal groups to expand and to grow even more. Please allow me to say hello to a magistrate who was not among the speakers, but who is a very close friend of mine.
Dell'economia di guerra in termini di.
Everybody knows that wars accelerate the processes through which the criminal groups expand and grow. Wars are occasions to experiment technologies and other methods which will be used by criminal groups, because men who learn how to use these new methods during wars will be then recruited by terrorist networks and mafia groups. There are deep transformations going on within the huge criminal groups. Technology is the key, and it stimulates the growth of criminal cartels because they want to exploit personal data seizures. They expand their cross-border networks for the purpose of money laundering. Deep changes in their business models are in place because they aim to be like groups of companies who want to expand their power at a global scale. So business is said to be neutral and safe, but it is not true. It is also more and more difficult to track illegal business down. I think that we need a very serious and detailed analysis of criminal phenomena, which we have to fight against. This is compulsory to make international cooperation a true and effective instrument. From this point of view, these meetings give us hope, because as you heard, the whole Latin American continent is making an effort to create specialized police forces in order to contrast the criminal groups. We are supporting their efforts because we are interdependent. Also, investigating techniques are getting more and more complex, so it's good to share competencies and knowledge. We need a relevant strategy. We need more coordination in investigation techniques. I think we really need that. I'm quoting Angel Valencia. What we do is not enough. We should have national judiciary databases. We do have that, but other national systems need to have that. And we have to create effective methods of exchange through some means which are not paper and which are not digital sources. And it must be effective. We should start shared projects to develop new technologies, starting from AI. We should create a supranational regulation on that, because this is lacking at the moment. I hope that the members of parliament who are here today take note about that. We should regulate the use of AI. France has already done that, and it is very urgent that we do the same. There's also another need, which is self-evident, especially in Italy. We should start a turnover plan and hire new people among law enforcement agencies, courts, and prosecutors' offices. Because in order to tackle the AI issues, we need younger people. There are also more goals which are a bit easier to meet. The 6th directive anti-money laundering, in order to prevent money laundering, because the underground banking and cryptocurrencies pose major threats to that. And we really need to implement this 6th directive. We need that in order to investigate the most sophisticated aspects of crimes. Because cryptocurrencies are used by criminal groups since some years now. We also need more cooperation with Latin American prosecutors' offices. Many countries in Latin America are democracies only from a formal point of view. They are very corrupt, and they are under pressure by the threats of criminal groups. However, it is necessary to establish closer bonds with stronger democracies in the continent. In order to do that, we have to be brave. We need to leave behind the older schemes we used to refer to when we were cooperating in the past. I hope that the Transnational Prosecutor's Office against Organized Crime will implement it very soon. It was approved by the Ministry of the Interiors of the Mercosur countries. We really need that, but we also need to strengthen solidarity towards those countries in order to ensure safety for their prosecutors who are engaged in difficult investigations. Because safety for such people is at risk in certain countries. I think that these meetings represent a big achievement because we expand our knowledge, we exchange information, but they also represent a big responsibility for us. Along with the Italian prosecutors, I want to support you. Despite the mistakes that we all make, I think that Italy owes a lot to all these public prosecutors and judges.
Buongiorno a tutti. Good morning. Something unexpected now. Before, thank you all for being here. If today I'm here, is to propose the Parliamentary Commission as a link among independent institutions that have and want to respect each other. This is shown by the work we've done over the last years, and I hope to be able to come back here in the future to thank all people who try to support our work to fight for justice. Now I have to thank the Iila for inviting me here today, the National Directorate for the Anti-Mafia and Anti-Terrorism, all the participants, and I have to try to put together everything that was said and suggested during these 2 days concerning the approaches we can follow to fight against criminal organizations. I'm the president of a Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry, but it's also something more. It's all of this put together, and this commission wants to represent the intention of the state to be present and active in the fight against mafia. And this process started in 1962 after the massacre of Ciaculli, with the creation of the Parliamentary Commission for Anti-Mafia Action, even before the creation of specific offices of prosecutors' offices for mafia. And then we kept working after 1982, after the murders of Pio La Torre and Dalla Chiesa. And then our work was carried out by Giovanni Falcone, who tried to promote the cooperation among public prosecutors' offices, and he created all the offices we know together, the Anti-Mafia Directorate, for example. And then there was 1992, which left a sign in the life of our country and people. But we know that around the world, in Latin America, above all, you are experiencing the same situation we experienced back in 1992. This is why we commemorated Alberto Pecci Albertini, César Suárez y Antonio José Machado Díaz. Today, we have to understand the logic behind drug trafficking, which tells us something important about the corruption of mafia, which moved from a local level to a global level, in a single world. It's like a tree with deep roots in the country of origin and then branches arriving all over the world in all countries of the world. I'll try to put together the main priorities to me for this fight. And the first one is the reactualization of the follow the money principle to identify assets and give back assets to local communities. And also this principle was first applied by this country and then replied also by the European Union. We have to identify assets, properties belonging to mafia bosses and give them back to the society. We need a new narrative to tell our people that we are not fighting against people working for the Italian economy, but we want to give back the economy to our country and communities, and we are proud of that. The second point is the diplomacy of the anti-mafia diplomacy. Applied by authorities when we gather all these countries and prosecutors' offices. Paolo Borsellino and Giovanni Falcone together first, and then Falcone on his own. Applied this principle, and back at the time, they knew that drug trafficking was a point of interest for Cosa Nostra, for the local mafia. They knew that already. This is why cooperation among prosecutors' offices is a positive example of anti-mafia diplomacy. And then one more point I want to highlight is the one of prisons, which tend to become the centers of power of crime and organized crime. This is why we keep implementing the hard prison regime, the 41 bis in the Italian code, because it is important to undermine the ties, the relationships between those who are in power and those who are controlled and follow the instructions and example. Recently, a special unit of prison police delivered a report of money flows concerning prisoners under the high prison regime. More than 3 million per year. Cosa Nostra delivers more than 539,000 euro per year to prisoners. This is a sign of the power of people in prison under the high prison regime. And then the last point, highlighted by the national prosecutors in his speech, is the one concerning the use of technologies. In Italy, organized crime managed to control the territory and very often is able to anticipate phenomena through the use of the internet and different technologies, platforms, cryptocurrencies, and other tools. There are too many new technologies we are underestimating. But I'm sure that our police forces and police forces around the world could do more in this regard. To conclude, I'd like to share a few data because I think that data and figures should be exchanged before emotions in these occasions. Although we should be guided by emotions. The United Nations Agency Against Drugs estimated that in 2023, 316 million people used drugs. Cocaine, synthetic drugs, and we are speaking of hundreds of billions of dollars of profits. We've recorded an increase in violence, an increase in social costs, because these people need support. Let's think to the use of fentanyl, for example. And then we record a rise in the number of young people using drugs. People that, through drugs, are then exploited by organized crime. And this also affects the economy, of course. There was an increase in the percentage of GDP laundered due to legal proceeds. We are dealing with different illegal markets using the same channel for more traffics. Drug trafficking, weapons trafficking, human trafficking, organs trafficking. And we are dealing with the most important challenge to stop the colonization of new areas and territories. But to do so, we need your commitment, the commitment of countries, governments, states, to implement all the measures they can to discourage the presence of organized crime in these territories. I mentioned emotions before. The 19th of July is the day in which we commemorate Paolo Borsellino, Emanuela Loi, Agostino Catalano, Vincenzo Limuli, Walter Di Cosina, and Claudio Traina. And it's the day in which we celebrate all those people, women and men, who risked their lives and fought without hesitation. It's the day in which we commemorate those people, and we're here to do so and to thank you for all your work. Thank you. Thank you. We are at the end of this meeting and we'll meet again next year because it's always important to commemorate and work together. And organizing the meeting in Palermo is a way to commemorate the martyrs of the city. But it's also because here in this city, we've signed the Convention of Palermo against cross-border organized crime. The legal framework allowing international prosecutors to exchange information, to create joint investigation pools and to improve the efficiency of their work. Thank you so much.
Per concludere vi invitiamo a pranzare insieme, ma prima se vorrete a scattare una foto.
Please come and join us for lunch. But first of all, let's take a picture together on the staircase.